Alright guys, welcome to Rat Patrol Gaming. This is Snake. We are now playing Game Dev Tycoon. Fun game simulator where you are the game developer. It's actually a lot of fun. Now, when I picked up this game the first time, I didn't expect too much, especially since it was an indie game, but I actually fell in love with the art style and the gameplay. It's definitely a game that you can play for quite a while, not to mention the music is very catchy. As you can see here, we're starting out in my parents' basement, developing games. Let's see if we can't get to a higher standing in life, shall we? Okay, so here's how you play the game. First, you start out with a name for your game, and then you select an ESRB rating, anywhere from youth, everyone, or mature. Then you pick topics from random research, you pick genres, which is action, adventure, RPG, simulation, strategy. And then you move on to the consoles. Now, these systems will change throughout the game as they progress, just as we have through time. You'll see new systems coming out, and they're kind of punny with it. They change the names of all the systems. Alright, so let's start out by making our first game. We're going to start making Karma 2 here. Now, you'll see there's little interactive sliders on it. Now, you set those to varying degrees based on what you want the game to be. Certain games are more successful in that certain area. So, something like level design or quests probably wouldn't be as important for a military simulator as much as graphics and sound would be important for it. Now, I just got enough money to actually make this game because my last few games were kind of flops. You know, it's the beginning of the PC market. You have basically text-based games and then 2D games. Not a lot of room for military simulators, but hopefully this one is going to be a nice success and I'll be able to move out of my parents' basement in this game because it's getting a little smelly in here. I'm not going to lie, I've been working in this basement for about, I don't know, quite a few years. But hopefully I'm about to hit my break with Karma 2. Now, as you can see at the top, you see technology and design. You also see bugs. When you finish creating a game, you'll get ranked based on how much you got in each degree, but also you'll see bug testing. You have to bug test at the end of the game, otherwise you'll start losing points in your review. So you sit and you wait, which costs money, mind you. Generally, when you first start out the game, the upkeep isn't too high, but as you start hiring new staff and you move into an office, you have to pay for things, and bug testing will be slightly more expensive, but you definitely want to make sure you get all the kinks out before you release a game. And as you can see here, my upkeep is about $8,000. That's mostly, you know, Hot Pockets, cupcakes, soda, you know, things normal game developers have in their parents' basement, ramen noodles, porn, lots and lots and lots of porn, maybe calling a few sex hotlines, I don't know, whatever he gets into on those lonely nights, game development. I've heard they're pretty expensive, maybe a few hookers here and there, some alcohol, can't forget the gallons and gallons of lotion, and tissues. Okay, back on the topic. So, there's a certain aspect of the game which is called research. You research new game types such as open world, dialogues, etc. And what you do is you use those to combine into a really nice game engine, which can actually improve the quality of your game, but it also takes longer to produce it and costs more money. But it saves you time in the long run and makes you a lot more money because you get a higher rating based on your, based on the skill of your engine. Now, I just made almost $1 million. There we go. Alright, I made $1 million in sales off of this one game. Now, before that, I was making maybe hit or miss, about 100,000. So once you hit a 10, you really start seeing some sales and you start gaining some fans. Now, you'll see at the top right, you'll see some fans. The more games you release and the better quality games you release, you gain fans. Right now, I'm going to start moving to the new office. Now, at the new office, I get a lot more professional. As you can see, it looks a lot better and cleaner than my parents' basement. You know, no longer will I be held back by the smell of urine, shame, sweat, and soiled tissues. Okay, so now we're going to hire some new game developers. The only issue is, if you hire them too quickly, the upkeep costs become kind of outrageous, and you'll go bankrupt pretty quick because they're kind of expensive. But what you can do is you can actually build them up to be about as good as you are. It just takes a very long time and it takes a lot of money because you actually have to individually train them. They also don't work as hard. They have to go on vacation every once in a while, so you actually have to send them off, otherwise they won't do a very good job. But back to the fan base. As you gain fans in this game, you'll start seeing more money come in, but you'll also see, more expenses based on your engine. I spent up to 500,000 just on one engine. You also have to pay the employees about 100 grand a month, depending on how good they are and what level they are. Because the higher level they are, well, the more you'll get. So, moving on. Once you hit a certain amount of fans, you can start attending E3, or I believe they call it G3. And you can start raking in some more fans and stuff like that, and then you start getting publishing deals where you can publish medium to high-end games for a contract, but it's guaranteed to get you more fans, which is better when you start releasing your own games, because then you'll start making some more money for it. Now, on the finding staff, you'll see that you can pre-filter based on what you want to find. I haven't noticed a difference, but you can do algorithm, game demo, etc., and you can set the budget to find the person. Now, the higher budget you set, the higher skill rating they're going to have when you first get them. I spent 500,000 my first playthrough just trying to find a staff, and it probably wasn't the best idea because I probably could have just hired a low-end one and trained them eventually, but it worked out eventually. Now, there is a kind of a safety net in this game where you can fall back into bankruptcy and the bank will support you either up until your game comes out, or they will offer you a loan that you have to pay back within a year. Generally, it's a lot of money. It's like 800,000 or $1 million, which if you start falling behind that, it's kind of hard to pay them back, and then you'll go bankrupt. Now, I wouldn't go to assume that this game is easy, because it isn't. You can't just re-release the same game over and over, the same topic, because you will suffer from franchise fatigue, and the fans in this game will notice that. If you release a really successful game, let's say you get 2 million, and then you're like, okay, well, I made good money off of this, let me release it 2 months later again, or a sequel to it, or basically the same game, different name. The game will know, and you will suffer from sales, and you'll actually lose a lot of fans, saying, basically that you're just trying to make money off of them. You're not really in it for the games, which is, I think that's a really nice feature. Now, onto actual game engine management and creating the game engine for your games. Because it costs so much, you actually have to get research points. You have to gather those up first, and you have to have a lot of capital before you actually make those. But it helps in the long run because it allows you to select different features on your games, like different 3Ds, different 2Ds, stereo mono sound. For RPGs, you have open world, you have new dialogue options, interactive quests, scroll wheels, things that you would pretty much come to expect today. Next, I'll explain a little bit about the medium game creation. When you take contracts from companies, they force you to make a medium game, and they're a lot more difficult. You actually need quite a bit of staff. As you can see here, I was running with just myself and another staff member, and we kind of overloaded ourselves and made a crappy game because of it, because you actually have to divide who takes what asset, and you can only work someone so far. So once you hit about over 110, 120%, they start suffering, and you're not going to produce the best game that you could have produced. So it's important to build your capital and fan base before you start releasing medium games, or even taking contracts for it, because you need to support the staff, which costs a lot of money. It adds up pretty quick. And as you'll see here on this Galactic Avengers space RPG game that I made, I tossed in some features from the engine, but because I did that, it kind of overworked the staff, and, well, you'll see for yourself. You can go into debt pretty quick if you release a bad game. Luckily for me, I had some capital to fall back on. So you have to be careful and pay attention to a lot of the things in the game. Sometimes you'll get tips based on what the market is asking for. But back to the medium game. You'll actually get a message from the publisher if you were on their contract. They will actually penalize you for not hitting their rating, because when you accept a contract, you basically accept that you'll get at least a 5 or a 6 review or something like that. Depends on the terms of the contract, and if you don't meet that, well, you can lose up to like 200,000, even more than that, depending on how high-end the game is. I have to be honest, when I picked up this game, I wasn't really sure what I was getting into. I wasn't sure what to expect, But for an indie game, I'm actually really impressed with this, and I definitely recommend picking it up. I got a lot of hours of fun out of this, and it was on sale on Steam. I believe it's going to be on sale this Christmas, so you guys should definitely pick it up if you're into this kind of thing. This is Snake from Rat Patrol Gaming, signing off.
You need to get in. Once you get in, it's like, oh god, my butt. But but if you don't get in, then it's, oh god, your butt. Oh god, my butt.
Oh god, your butt.
Oh god, my butt.
Oh god, your butt.
Oh, ah. You need to get in. Once you get in, it's like, oh god, my butt. But